Hi, hey, hi, it's me, your Void, and we're talking about my second favorite hobby again. I got myself some books. Long story short, I got myself some books over the past 3 months. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you all about the books that I acquired between April and June. Yes, April, May, and June, in those 3 months. I believe it's like 30, just over 30. There are a couple of collections in here, so yeah. Imagine a super fancy intro here, and now we're going to do a super fancy transition because I figured out how to do that in my video editing software, and let's start talking about some books. The first acquisition I got myself is Seven Devils by Elizabeth May and L.R. Lam, and because I couldn't resist, I immediately also got book 2, Seven Mercies. This is a sci-fi duology about some people who do some stuff in space. When loyalty to the Empire is programmed from birth, resistance is futile. Until now. After Eris faked her death, she thought she had left her old life as Princess Discordia, heir to the galaxy's most ruthless empire, behind. But joining the Noventian Resistance, an organization opposed to the Empire, throws her right back into the fray. Resistance fighter pilot Chloe has been given a mission: infiltrate an Empire spaceship ferrying deadly cargo to gain vital intelligence. A task made all the more difficult when she's forced to partner with an old enemy, Princess Discordia herself. Eris. They discover more than they bargained for on the ship, fugitives with first-hand knowledge of the Empire's inner workings. With this information, these women might just bring the Empire to its knees. But the clock is ticking. Eris's brother Damocles, new heir to the throne, plans to disrupt the peace summit, with the only remaining free alien people ensuring the Empire's total domination. Unless this band of unlikely rebels stops him, millions will die. Trek of Worlds says, a smart sci-fi story with a compelling world, sharp dialogue, and a pacey, entertaining plot featuring kick-ass women. We love kick-ass women. Kick-ass women are great. The only reason I got these is I wanted more stuff in space. I'm a huge space opera sci-fi nerd, and these covers are just so pretty. Have I read anything from L.R. Lam before? No. I had the dragon book that they wrote on my TBR forever, but this is the first physical book I own by them. And with this, I actually break one of my, not rules, but one of my, let's call it a habit of buying the first book and then never continuing a series because I never get the second book or third book in the series. This is a duology. It's only these two, so I just grab them. Next up, I got myself Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher because everyone says they are great, and fantasy romance just isn't my thing. Cozy romance isn't usually my thing, but everyone says this is good shit, and this has a bunch of authors I like on the back. We have KJ Charles, who said, I read it in a delightful evening sitting and enjoyed every moment, ... wonderful. And Alex E. Harrow says, funny, frightening, and full of heart. I loved it. And a lot of people say this is good stuff, and I have read 2 things by T. Kingfisher before, so I know I am okay with the writing style. I like the writing style, and maybe this will be a cozy fantasy romance, and I can be like, yay, I have one cozy fantasy romance that I like. Maybe, hopefully. The setting is kind of promising. While foraging a startle flower, perfumer Grace finds herself pursued by ruffians and rescued by a handsome paladin in shining armor. Only, to outwit her hunters, they must pretend to be doing something very unrespectable in an alleyway. Stephen, a broken paladin, spends his time knitting socks and working as a bodyguard, living only for the chance to be useful. But that all changes when he saves Grace and witnesses an assassination attempt gone wrong. Now Stephen and Grace must navigate a web of treachery and poisoners, while the cryptic killer stalks one step behind. Okay. Paladin's Grace is a darkly whimsical, cozy fantasy featuring sock-knitting paladins, badass perfumers, courtroom hijinks, and heart-racing romance from Nebula and 2-time Hugo Award winner T. Kingfisher. I love these little dramatic bits. From this description, I hope I like it. I'm a fan of the cover. Next up, we go back to sci-fi with Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie, which again is a sci-fi space opera, but I believe this time we're not necessarily only in space. this because it says, on a remote icy planet, the soldier known as Breck is drawing closer to completing her quest. Once she was Justice of Torin, a colossal starship with an artificial intelligence linking thousands of soldiers in the service of the Reach, the empire that conquered the galaxy. Now, an act of treachery has ripped it all away, leaving her with one fragile human body, many unanswered questions, and a burning desire for revenge. That sounded so intriguing that I ordered the entire trilogy. Oops! Again, I want to circumvent me having one book and then never continuing the series because I don't have the series. This might be a bit on the consumerism side of things, but I'm someone, I don't like ordering the entire series when I haven't read from an author before. I very rarely do that. When I do, specifically from an author I've never read from before, it is usually because the entire series was on an offer or something, so I spend a lot less money on it, which is the only justification I give myself for buying an entire series, even though I don't know if I like the author. And specifically with this and Seven Devils, just the description and reading the first chapter has me feeling that I will enjoy this, so I bit the frog, I guess, and bought the entire series. Usually I don't do that. Case in point, I had to order Emperor of Ruin separately. In my previous book haul, I believe you saw me haul Blood of the Chosen. I read this since then, but I read Ashes of the Sun a year ago and then never continued the series because I never ordered book 2 and 3. Then I ordered book 2 and immediately read it, and now I have book 3 in the Burning Blade and Silver Eye series by Django Wexler, where we follow two siblings and they are on very opposite sides of a government. One wants to destroy it, the other one actively works for it. I will not read you the blurb because there are probably going to be spoilers for stuff that happens in book 2. Book 2 was a bit of a letdown, so I'm hoping that the series finale will be good again. Book 2 wasn't bad, it was just not as good as I wanted it to be. Then I ventured out of my comfort zone by ordering Radical Love by Neil Blackmore. I don't know, can you see the title? It's gold foiled. This is litfic, I believe, and it follows two gay men in London 1809. I'm not a litfic reader usually. Very rarely I pick up one. I picked this one up specifically because Sir Ian McKellen called it a good book and everyone should read it. That is legitimately the only reason I got it. Well, that is the only reason I looked at it, and then I read the blurb. I do from time to time read the blurb before I buy a book, and then I got the book because it sounded like something that is interesting enough. So I decided this is going to be one of the few litfic books I own and hopefully enjoy. London 1809. By day, Minister John Church preaches to a congregation of common folk in Suffolk. Suffolk? Southwark? I don't know. It's British. It's the Southwark. By night, he is drawn to the secretive, alluring world of Molly House on Vere Street. There, ordinary men reinvent themselves as outrageous queens. Lads on the make flirt with laborers and princes alike, and John finds himself ordaining marriages between men, at enormous risk to everyone involved. When he meets the unworldly and free-thinking Ned, one of a group of African abolitionists who attend his chapel, John falls in love with Ned's tender nature and discovers how quickly desire can turn into obsession. So, I mean, there's nothing sexier than Catholic gay priests. Also, this is based on the true story of one of the most important events in queer history. And I do have to say, I am notoriously bad at learning about queer history. Like, I know my important stuff, but I don't know a lot of details. I don't know a lot of individual stories. So this might spark something. And this is, I believe, the only book I own that is actually inspired by real events. I don't think I have another book that's inspired by real stuff. So that is cool. Then I ordered Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, which is the first time I actually convinced myself to actually order an Olivia Blake. Because Olivia Blake is one of these authors, every time I hear the concept and the plot of her new book, I am deeply in love with the concept, but I never bought an Olivia Blake because usually a lot of people like the idea, they don't like the execution of the book. But this time I bit the frog again and I ordered Masters of Death because, again, the plot sounded intriguing to me and I do want to try Olivia Blake at some point. And this one is on my r/fantasy bingo and it's a standalone, so I thought, if not now, never. So I got this. Viola Marek is a struggling estate agent and a vampire, but her biggest issue is that the house she's selling is haunted. The ghost occupying this mansion has been murdered, and he refuses to move on until he solves the mystery behind his death. Fox the Mora is a medium. He is also a shameless fraud and the godson of death. When Viola hires Fox to resolve a ghost infestation, he becomes embroiled in a quest that neither he nor Vi expects or wants. But with the help of a demonic personal trainer, a sharp-voiced angel, and a love-stricken reaper, Vi and Fox soon discover discovered that the difference between a mysterious lost love and an annoying dead body isn't nearly as distinct as they once thought. Like I said, it sounded so intriguing. It still sounds very intriguing. Also, it comes with character art inside the book. I'm very excited to get to this, and I really, really hope that I'm not one of the many. Let me be a special snowflake. Let me enjoy Olivia Blake books, please. Because if so, there are a lot of books that I want to grab from her, just because they sound so intriguing. Then I ordered an N.K. Jemisin with The City We Became. Again, this concept sounded so intriguing. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but this sounds so intriguing. Every great city has a soul. Some are ancient as myth, others are as new and destructive as children. New York? She's got 6, and all 6 will be called to arms in the greatest battle the city has ever fought. And I believe this is a story about people getting possessed by the souls of the city. That's why it's called The City We Became, and then stuff just happens. It says, dazzling with imagination, brimming with passion, and cackling with wit, The City We Became is a modern masterpiece of culture, identity, magic, and myth in contemporary New York City. I never watched more than a couple of episodes What We Do in the Shadows, but I saw all of the edits, and I cannot say New York City normal anymore. It is always the character. I think it's Laszlo who says, "You are the most devious bastard in New York City." Every time. Also, creepy paper. Multi-pack. And then I got a couple of continuations. The first one being A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, because I read The Tainted Cup, or A Tainted Cup? The Tainted Cup recently, and I fell in love with absolutely everything about this book, so I immediately had to pick up Drop of Corruption. And I hope, there is a small chance, but I hope I can read this before August, because in August, the third and I think final book drops. So, would be amazing to start a series and then finish a series in just a couple of months. But yeah, in this series, I believe it's In the Shadow of the Leviathan, I believe is the name of the series, we follow Din and Anna, and they are your Sherlock Holmes and Watson combination of people, just in a fantastical magical setting with plant magic and mutations and leviathans coming out of the ocean and crashing cities, not unlike Pacific Rim. And the setting is so intriguing, and we follow murder mysteries, and you can do solve-alongs with these. I realized that in book 1, and a bunch of people told me you can do that in book 2, so I will try to solve this mystery alongside the characters. I think I'm going to make a solve-along with this one. Maybe I even film it. Anyone want to team up in a solve-along for Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett? Anyone? The next continuation is also a series finale, and I had to pick up Human Rights by Juno Dawson the second it came out in this cover, because I have the obnoxiously pink version of the first book, and the teal cover, green, blue, this one in the second cover, and the third one, when I got the first 2, wasn't out in this cover style yet. Now it's out. I immediately got it for myself, and I am so happy. If you don't know, Her Majesty's Royal Coven was my first 5-star in almost an entire year. I fell so deeply in love with this, and then I read book 2. And even though I was a bit disappointed by book 2, because there were a lot of things going places that I had to ask why we were going those places, I am still a fan of the series. So of course I got myself Human Rights, book 3. And I'm very intrigued where things are going, because shit happened in book 2. And book 2 ended on a cliffhanger. Again, there is a non-zero chance that I will not only start and continue, but also finish a series in the same year that I started it. I am so hyped for this book. And now I only need to wait for Queen Bee, the origin novella, to come out in this cover, and then I have the entire thing! And the last continuation I have is Ascension by S.T. Gibson, Saint Gibson, which is a continuation of a book I haven't read yet. As of filming this video, Evocation, the first book in the series, is on my immediate TBR, so I might read it, but also it has to fight for my attention with 33 other books. So who knows if I can get to it. But I do know that I like S.T. Gibson's writing style, and again, the blurb of the book is very interesting, so I just said, fuck it, and got myself book 2. If I'm not getting to these anytime soon, I'm not mad about it, because S.T. Gibson announced that book 3 might take another while. Stuff came up. They are also writing, I think, 3 different books at the same time right now, and schedule things happened. Again, I won't give you the blurb for book 2 because there might be spoilers on the back of this. I haven't read book 1 yet, so I don't want to spoil myself. But this series follows a group of people. It's 3 people, 2 guys and a lady, and one of them is currently fighting off a possession that was caused by one of his ancestors. They did something, did a deal, and now he has to deal with a demon trying to possess him, and in order to deal with that, he goes back to his ex-boyfriend, who is now married, and these two are trying to help him, but there's also toxic relationship stuff going on. Eventually we end up in a throuple, and yeah. Given that I know that S.T. Gibson can write beautiful, toxic, gothic, polyamory stories, I am so here for this. Also, the cover is just so... Both of these covers, look at them. They're just so damn pretty. They're so damn pretty. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading book 1, and hopefully I like it enough to not regret getting book 2. And the one and only hardcover, I very rarely treat myself to hardcovers because they're just so damn expensive. And I mean, I can get 1 hardcover or 2 paperbacks. Might as well get the paperbacks, you know? But this one is a standalone, and I saw Becca from Becca and the Books talk about it, and she wasn't the biggest fan of it, but when she talked about the points that this book hits and what she doesn't like and what she does like about it, I thought this could be a book right up my alley. And because it is a standalone, and because the hardback was on offer, I said, fuck it, I might as well get it. I am talking about A Stage Set for Villains by Shannon J. I want to say Spann, which is the German version, Span. But this is a romantasy. This is a you never see me pick up a romantasy. This is like a romantasy in the most romantasy kind of sense, apparently. But I picked this up because this apparently features a world and a magic system based around theater. And if you know one thing about me, then you know that I love theater. I studied theater. I am a theater nerd. I participate in theater things. Theater is my thing. I am a theater kid. So I thought, between the points that Becca talked about and the fact that I am a theater kid, why not? It's actually legitimately sounded interesting, which I very rarely say about anything that is romantasy. Also, this, not only is this a hardcover that was on offer, I also got sprayed edges, which makes this basically the second book with sprayed edges I have. This is the fanciest sprayed edge I have. Trust me, I have some that are just block colored. Wait, where is it? Like I have 2 or 3 that are just block colored sprayed edges, you know, at the beginning of time when we figured out we could paint pages. Just having this arrow it makes it the fanciest painted edge I have. There's nothing special about the rest of the book. It is very simple. It is not special at all, but it's the fanciest edition I have. At the back, listen. It's not a full blurb. It's not a full blurb, but just listen. The mortals made a treaty to keep the players south, and when the treaty ended, a wall to keep them out. And if the wall should crumble, then marks will keep us safe. And if our marks should fail us, gods have mercy on our fate. That is the kind of drama I live for. The better blurb says, the gods are dead, all that's left are the players. The performers of the playhouse are as worshipped as they are feared. Their enchanting shows bending hearts, minds, and even reality itself. Vicious, godlike, lethal. 18-year-old Riven? Hesper knows the dangers better than anyone after her own encounter with the player resulted in a curse that is slowly killing her. When the Playhouse announces the spectacle of a lifetime, a chance for one mortal to steal a player's immortality, Riven sees her last chance to live. Desperate for answers, she infiltrates the competition. There she finds Jude, the Playhouse's brilliant, merciless lead player, whose charm is as dangerous as his craft, and strikes a deadly bargain to save her life. But with time running out and the Playhouse's secret unraveling into a disturbing picture, Riven faces a grim possibility. She might not be the hero of her story after all. In fact, she may be the villain. Because the Playhouse doesn't just tell stories, it rewrites them. And Riven's might end in blood. Again, I am not someone who reads a lot of romantasy, but I do read fantasy, and I read romance. So maybe this will be the romantasy that proves me wrong, that I should read more romantasy. I don't know. I am strangely hyped for this. And then I have a couple of ebooks, but with the nature of how I get ebooks, I usually forget about them existing for a business year or so. So I have a bunch of them, and I know nothing about them. So I will give you the title, I will give you the author, and then we will read the blurb, and then we will move on. The first couple were freebies. I got them for, it wasn't a Stuff Your Kindle thing, but it was a Stuff Your Kindle thing. I don't remember the exact event, but I remember it was a very small thing. I think all of these feature trans characters, question mark? I believe it was a trans Stuff Your Kindle day for stuff. I don't know. So first up we have The Skeletons in Our Closet by Sinclair A. McCobb. Beautiful name. And the blurb says, for as long as he can recall, Daedalus McCobb, self-insert, has been bound to one rule above all else. Don't step out of line. He's always followed it to the letter. His days spent training in elegant forms of fighting, his nights spent studying in his library, and the breaths between spent lost in the worn keys of his piano. He keeps his head down, and he does what he's told. But when Daedalus moves to Nemor, and meets Cain Sidrel, his meticulously crafted control and rigorous adherence to the rules seem to disappear overnight. Without realizing it, his entire world narrows down to a pretty rich boy with hair like hellfire. A hellfire that threatens to consume him with every passing smile and shared glance. Still, his mother's expectations are a heavy burden, and her anger only grows with his continued distraction and blatant disregard for her rules. The longer Daedalus allows himself his dalliance with Cain, the more dire the consequences become, until one day those consequences arrive and Daedalus is faced with a punishment he cannot run away from. Separated by forces outside their control, Daedalus and Cain must overcome years of distance and longing when fate deems to grant them a second chance. But as others start to find themselves in Daedalus' way, Cain begins to question whether this is the man he once knew, or if there can be any hope for the two of them in the end. Gotta say, this is one of those books that promises a lot, but it does have a 4.0 rating on Storygraph. Next up, we have a short story called To Surrender by E.N. Laurier? I don't know. The blurb is a single sentence. Venali is sent to investigate an ancient god's temple and gets more than he bargains for. It's an 18-page short story. 3.52 on Storygraph. And then I got something that is technically kind of outside of my comfort zone, because I got the first two books in the Fae and Human Relations series, which is historical fantasy romance with Fae. And if you know me, you know that I don't like Fae. The first one is Breeze, Spells, and Bridegrooms by S.L. Callahan and Sarah Wallace. And the blurb says, Roger not only had to prove himself to the council, he also had to prove himself to Windham Wen Whistle. What now? Fae and humans alike are returning to London for the season, but the excitement is marred by the growing poverty rate among humans with low magical scores. Tenacious Roger Barnes proposes a new rubric for testing magic to the council, hoping to resolve the predicament for his fellow humans. But when he is paired with Windham Wren Whistle, a dashing fae who has disliked him since childhood, the project seems destined to fail. Even after reaching a tentative truce, their fragile partnership crumbles due to malicious lies. Adding to the disarray, a popular gossip column unexpectedly announces that Roger and Wynne are engaged. Obliged to go along with the falsehood to save their families from scandal, they are forced to reconcile their differences for the sake of the rubric and for their impending marriage. As the project bleeds into their wedding plans, the pressure to flawlessly execute both mounts even higher. Together they have the chance to solve a crisis decades in the making, but they'll need more than magic to succeed. This sounds like someone watched too much Bridgerton Season 1. I am here for it. And then I have Book 2, Fire Spells Between Friends. And the blurb for that one says, whoever wins the heart of the most eligible gentleman in London will need to be an extraordinary catch indeed. London, 1813. Fae and humans alike are abuzz whenever Torquil's Tribune drops a juicy new tidbit. At the center of the gossip is a handsome fae, Ambrose Renbristle, heir to his family's fortune. As speculation over his prospects grows, the search for a suitable spouse begins. The trouble is, Ambrose can't find anyone who measures up to the person he has been secretly seeing for years. The Tribune's witty society writer, Torquil Pimpernel Smith, is accustomed to using the force of gossip to pull the strings of social influence. So when they are offered a position as the council's first Fae human member, they readily accept. However, their first project plunges Torquil into upper-class circles rife with snobbery. Facing prejudice head-on is hard enough without having to hide their true feelings for the eligible Emrys. As the line of suitors starts to form, the Renbristle family is intent on making a worthy match. Emrys and Torquil's passion burns perfectly in private, but navigating society together will determine if their love is ablaze or in danger of being extinguished. Again, it sounds like Bridgerton, this time season 2. I am here for it! And you can bet your ass that one of them will look like a certain someone in my head. Then I got Lucas by M.J. James, the first book in the Ember Town series. I had that on my radar for a while. With nothing left, Lucas arrives in Ember, Colorado, a town that holds the only clue to his past and the parents he lost at a young age. Taken in by Rocco, the compassionate local bar owner, Lucas dedicates himself to saving money for top surgery and building a new life. Everything changes when Veronica walks into the bar. Unbeknownst to Lucas, she's a vampire, sanctioned by the council to take his blood. Neither of them realizes that Lucas carries a hidden legacy. His parents were vampire kin, genetically predisposed to being turned. Forced into a vampiric existence against his will, Lucas faces an eternity in a body that can never change. Desperate for answers, he finds an unexpected ally in Jeffrey. As Lucas's transformation upends the balance in the magical community, the prospect of war looms over the vampires. Will Lucas find the strength to embrace his new future and navigate this treacherous world? There's a lot of people being introduced in 122 pages. Okay. It has vampires in it. And the next 6 books I got were also free, but not for the trans stuff your Kindle thing. They were just free. I think the author just had a grab it now stuff going on. And I got myself the entire box set of The Naga Brides by Naomi Lucas, which is 6 books about snake aliens, I believe. Long have the Nagas been alone, without brides, without sweet mates to warm their nests, until 3 human women arrive. Follow Gemma, Daisy, and Shelby as they claim their fierce Naga males and restore life on Earth. This is the first set. They come in, like, it's 2 sets of 3s. So this is books 1, 2, and 3, and then there is a second download file that has book 4, 5, and 6. And it's just 6 different monster romances between snake aliens and people. Then I bought The Trial of Doncaster. I heard about this right after the first Trans Rights Readathon. Someone said this is amazing stuff, and I put it on my wish list, and then I forgot about it for a hot second, and then I remembered I kind of want to read it. Doncaster is ruled by a king who despises magic. Anyone with latent talent is consigned to the Brotherhood of Righteous Light, where they are raised to be weapons for the kingdom. Freedom isn't an option for mages. After discovering his first wife, and by extension the crown prince, harbored magical talent, King Stent sent the church to eradicate any house with a trace of magic, human, fae, demon, or otherwise. Connor Reed, once Prince Riven, faked his own death to escape the church. Upon discovering the fate of both his mother and their house, he swore vengeance against his father. Connor has spent every moment of the last 12 years building contacts, orchestrating events, honing his magic, and setting his plans in motion, all with little concern for his own well-being. Now he resides in Doncaster as a carefree lesser noble, but beneath this facade lies a sharp mind fixated on the ruination of the king. Valentine, the Trial of Doncaster, has spent his life on the streets following the destruction of the royal demon house of Sandoval. Though raised to rule his people, he has learned to accept his circumstances and revels in his notoriety as an accomplished thief and assassin, filling his nights with illicit job and feeding the magic-hungry beast under his skin. His only problem is the tie he still has to the human gang leader Hess. When Connor maneuvers Valentine into accepting a contract to discredit the Brotherhood, their lives become indelibly linked. That is a word I don't know. Connor finds himself drawn to Valentine in ways even he couldn't have foreseen. Lured by his own innate curiosity, Valentine can't help but want to unravel the mystery of the mage who seems hell-bent on provoking him at every turn. Magic attraction and the quest for revenge bind them together. Saints preserve anyone who stands in their way. I have heard this is good shit. That's why I got it. And the final book I got myself, I didn't buy it. I didn't pick it up for free anywhere. I tried a thing because I'm following YouTuber Kate Kavanaugh, and she finally got a book published. So I was like, can I mayhaps read that? So when she had an ARC call, I think it was on Instagram, where she put out a call, people who want to read the ARC, I grabbed one. I grabbed myself an ARC for Thanks for Watching by Kate Kavanaugh. Michelle Monroe's 15 minutes are almost up. After 10 years online, she's a master at her trade, scamming her fans. But her once bright internet stardom is blinking into oblivion. The brand deals are drying up, the views are plummeting, and even her haters no longer care enough to snark. When she spots an ornate scarlet envelope sitting outside her high-rise condo, she realizes her luck is about to change. It's an invite to an exclusive brand trip for the new energy drink company Excelsior. The answer is easy. Yes. Even if she has to tolerate hours with the peers that surpassed her. The worst she expects is a blowout fight or two, filmed, of course, from multiple angles, but no one anticipates joining a different kind of mile-high club. Witnessing the death of their frenemy at 30,000 feet. Still, the most tragic news of all of that, there's no internet on the island, no turn-down service, and only each other and their shared grudges for entertainment. As the backstabbing turns literal, the more influencers die in awful, strange ways, the dwindling group can no longer deny the obvious. Someone gathered them there to die. And yeah, I followed the entire process of this book being created from the initial idea all the way to it now being published, which makes me so happy to have this book in my hands. Book 2 has already been announced, but that is it for now. This has been my quarter 2 book haul. If you made it this far into the video, let me know if you have read any of the books I just held up, talked about, whatever. And if you don't want to talk to me at all, leave a book stack emoji down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye!